The rain had just stopped. The road still shone like a black mirror outside Harbor Diner. Neon buzzed. Coffee steamed. Plates clinked. Sophia tied her apron, breathed in the smell of butter and pepper, and whispered, "One more shift." Evelyn, the silver-haired cook, slid eggs onto a plate. "Full house tonight, kiddo." Sophia smiled. "Let's make it sing." Then the sound rolled in, low, steady, a drumbeat of engines. Heads turned. The door opened, and the bikers walked in. Leather jackets, heavy boots, road dust on their shoulders like ash. Some customers stiffened. A toddler stopped sucking his straw. Even the neon seemed to hum softer. John, the manager, appeared at Sophia's shoulder. Jaw tight. Eyes like ice. "We don't serve them," he hissed. "Let them pass through." Sophia blinked. "They're customers." "They're trouble," John said. "Don't start." I said no. Robert, the tallest biker with a gray streak in his beard, stood near the door and scanned the room. Calm. His eyes landed on Sophia. He gave a small nod. Not a threat. More like respect. Beside him, Michael, a younger man with kind eyes and a small camera clipped to his pocket, offered a gentle smile. Evelyn met Sophia's gaze. "Do what's right," she murmured, barely moving her lips. Sophia walked forward. Her heart hammered. Her shoes squeaked on the clean floor. She grabbed menus, set them down with steady hands, and said, "Welcome to Harbor Diner. I'm Sophia. Coffee first." A breathless pause took the room. Silent moment. Robert smiled. "Coffee would be perfect. Thank you." Sophia poured. The smell rose like a warm promise. She asked names. She listened. She laughed when Michael joked about rain being nature's car wash for the soul. She wrote orders in neat lines. Pancakes. Chili. 3 cheeseburgers. Extra pickles. No onions. People stared. A man in a suit whispered to his wife. A teenage girl filmed quietly behind her soda. Sophia kept moving. Plates out. Plates in. She noticed small things. The way one biker's hand trembled into the first sip of coffee. The muddy ring left by a glove on the counter. The gentleness with which Robert held the door for an older couple going out. John watched, rage building. He marched forward. "Sophia. Office. Now." She set a plate down. "1 minute, please." He grabbed her elbow. "Now." In the cramped office, the hum of the soda machine filled the space. John's voice was low and sharp. "You defied me in front of everyone." "I served customers," she said. "I was polite. They paid. That's our job. Our job is to keep this place safe. I make the call. You follow it." He pointed to the door. "You're done. Turn in the apron." Sophia felt the floor tilt. "You're firing me for serving people?" He didn't blink. "Yes." Outside, plates paused midair. The room felt suddenly cold. Evelyn stepped out from the kitchen, spatula still in her hand. "John, don't." "It's final," he said, loud enough for the room to hear. "We don't need people who don't listen." Sophia untied the apron. The knot stuck. Her fingers shook. She tugged it free and folded it slowly. Silent moment she swallowed. "Thank you for the chance," she said, voice steady. Robert stood. "Miss Sophia," he said gentle. "You served us with respect. That matters." Michael looked at John. "You sure this is the story you want to tell tonight?" John sneered. "I'm sure." 100 feelings swirled in Sophia. Shock, shame, anger, the sting of unfairness, but also a strange, quiet pride. She had chosen kindness. She picked up her bag. Evelyn pressed a paper bag into her hands. "Warm. 2 biscuits." "For the road," Evelyn whispered. As Sophia pushed the door open, the night smelled like rain and gasoline. The engines outside ticked as they cooled. Robert held the door for her. "We'll see you soon," he said. Sophia hesitated. "Will you?" Robert nodded. "Tomorrow." "Why tomorrow? For what?" The words hung in the wet air. Inside, John barked to the room. Back to eating. The tension fractured into small, nervous noises. Forks. Cups. Forced laughs. Sophia stepped into the parking lot. The bikers followed a moment later, quiet as shadows. Robert looked up at the sky like he was reading something written there. Michael tapped the little camera on his pocket, then met Sophia's eyes. "You did good," he said. She didn't know whether to cry or run. Instead, she stood there, rain beating on her lashes, the distant pier lights flickering. "Tomorrow," Robert repeated. "We'll make it right." Sophia watched them mount their bikes. Engines roared. The sound rolled through her chest like thunder. The group pulled away, taillights pulsing like red stars. She breathed out. Alone now. Jobless. The neon buzzed behind her. What would tomorrow bring? Would it bring anything at all? She looked back at the diner window. John stood with his arms crossed, a king behind glass. Evelyn's face floated in the steam above the grill, worried and warm. Sophia turned up her collar and headed into the night. What would you have done in her place? Follow the manager or serve the people in front of you? The next morning, an ocean of motorcycles would fill the street, and they wouldn't be the only surprise waiting for Sophia. Sophia sat on the edge of her mattress, staring at the ceiling. The cheap fan clicked every seventh rotation. Dawn bled into the room, pink and unsure. Emma, her roommate, peered from her doorway. "You didn't sleep?" "No," Sophia said. Emma walked in, bun lopsided, hoodie swallowing her. She handed Sophia tea. "Tell me everything." Sophia told it all. The bikes. The stairs. John's voice like a slammed door. Robert's quiet dignity. Michael's little camera catching the light. Emma listened, eyes shiny. "You served them because they were people. That's it. That's the story." Sophia nodded. "It cost me my job." Emma squeezed her shoulder. "Sometimes the right thing charges full price." A rumble grew outside. Low at first, then bigger, a living thing. Emma froze. "Is that?" They pulled back the curtain. The street was filling. Bikes. Dozens. Then more. Chrome and black. Helmets gleaming. They lined the curb from the bakery to the bus stop. Neighbors opened doors. Phones went up like flowers turning to the sun. "Is this for you?" Emma whispered. Sophia's heart kicked. He said tomorrow. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. "Hello." "Good morning, Miss Sophia." Robert's voice. Calm as the shore at low tide. "We're outside. Could you come down to Harbor? Harbor Diner?" "Yes. There's something you should hear." She grabbed her jacket. Emma thrust sneakers at her. "Go. I'll follow." They hurried down the stairs, the stairwell smelling faintly of chalk and old paint. Outside, the air tasted like cool metal and sea salt. Robert stood beside his bike, helmet hooked over one arm. He wasn't alone. Two women, in leather vests, held clipboards. Michael adjusted a small mic. Another man, broad shoulders, soft eyes, introduced himself as John's rival across town. Robert had brought him, too. "I'm Robert's friend, name's John as well," he laughed. "Call me Rob's John to keep it simple." Sophia blinked. "What is this?" Robert raised his voice just enough. "Everyone, thank you for coming." The growl of engines dimmed to murmurs. He looked at Sophia. "Yesterday, you treated us like neighbors, not monsters. Today, we return the favor." Michael lifted the little camera. The red light blinked. He spoke to it softly. "We're outside Harbor Diner. Last night a waitress was fired for serving bikers. Today, we ride for respect." Sophia swallowed. "Ride for respect?" "We're a charity club," Robert said. "Iron Wind. We raise funds for kids in the NICU." He nodded toward a woman holding a poster of a baby with tiny fingers and a knitted cap. "We were supposed to host our annual breakfast here. We called ahead last month. Confirmed it twice." Sophia turned. "You were booked." Robert's eyes warmed. "Your manager knew. He canceled when he saw the jackets." Emma's jaw dropped. "He canceled a charity breakfast." "He did," said Michael, eyes flashing. "So we brought breakfast to the street." Rob's John wheeled out a giant coffee urn from his truck. Evelyn appeared from the diner's side door, eyes red but determined. She set down a crate of eggs. "I'm off the clock," she said to Sophia, almost daring her to argue. "Thought maybe you could use a friend." Sophia laughed, one of those shaky laughs that knows a cry is close. Always. The bikers began setting up tables. Someone unfolded a grill. Another ran an extension cord. The air filled with the happiness of people with a purpose. A local florist brought bouquets of daisies. A busker tuned his guitar, strummed a bright chord. The smell of bacon lifted in little flags of joy. Silent moment. The street turned into a block party. Then John, the manager, burst out the diner door. "What do you think you're doing?" His voice cracked. He looked at the bikes, the cameras, the signs. "You can't do this here." Robert faced him, polite. "We can. The sidewalk and parking are public. We have permits for the event. We tried to host inside. You refused." John's face darkened. "I run this block." Michael spoke evenly. "Not today." A police cruiser rolled up slow. 2 officers stepped out, hands easy, not on weapons. One officer nodded to Robert. "Morning. We got your permit update." Robert handed him a copy. The officer read, then looked at Sophia. "You the waitress?" "Yes," she said, unsure. "Good on you," he said simply. He turned to John. "They're clear to set up." John sputtered. "But..." Evelyn folded her arms. "Or you could serve them with a smile like a decent human." He looked at Sophia, and for a moment his face showed something raw. Worry? Fear? He stepped back inside. The door jangled like a bell of surrender. Michael turned to Sophia. "We'd like you to be our guest of honor. Would you say a few words? Nothing fancy. Just what you believe." Sophia felt heat rising to her cheeks. Public speaking? Cameras? A crowd? Her hands trembled. She looked at Emma, at Evelyn, at the dozen faces waiting not to judge, but to hear. "Okay," she said. She climbed onto a milk crate. The street grew quiet except for the seagulls. Silent moment, she took a breath. "If someone sits at your table," she said, "you feed them." The crowd exhaled as one. Some laughed softly. Some clapped. "Yesterday I did my job," she continued, voice steadying. "Today, I guess I get to do it again. For real." Michael's camera blinked. Robert nodded like a promise. In the middle of a cheers, Robert stepped forward with an envelope, and what was written inside would change everything for Sophia. The envelope was cream, thick, with a faint silver line along the edge. Robert held it carefully, like it was important. "Sophia," he said, "this is for you." Her name was handwritten in soft blue ink. She slid a finger under the flap. The paper crackled. Inside was a single sheet and a small card. She unfolded the letter. "Read the first line." Stopped. Silent moment. Evelyn leaned in, eyes wide. "What is it?" Sophia swallowed. "It's a scholarship." Emma gasped. "What?" Robert's lips tugged into a smile. "You mentioned last night you studied at the community college. Culinary classes on the side. You had to drop out to help your mother when she got sick. How did you?" Michael lifted his camera, embarrassed. "I asked Evelyn. I'm sorry if that's too personal." Sophia laughed through a shock of tears. "No, it's okay." Robert nodded at the card. "Open the second part." She flipped it over. A logo, Harbor Food Collective. A non-profit she'd admired from afar. The card read, "Apprenticeship offer. Harbor Food Collective X Iron Wind. Stipend. Mentorship. Restaurant management track. Start date, next Monday." Sophia looked up, world tilting in a better way. "Is this real?" "Real as coffee," Robert said. "We fund apprentices for folks who lift others up." "That's you." Applause rose from the bikes. Someone hooped. The guitarist played a silly celebratory trill. John appeared again at the window, face pale, watching like a man standing on the wrong train platform. The sight made Sophia's joy wobble. He had fired her. He had tried to push these people away. And yet he looked lost. Michael motioned to the street mic. "Could you read a line from the letter for the camera?" Sophia nodded. She cleared her throat. It says, "We believe hospitality is courage in an apron. Yesterday you proved it. Let us prove it back." The crowd exhaled that soft sound people make when truth lands. Rob's John wheeled out trays of fresh pastries from his cafe across town. "Breakfast is served," he cried. Kids cheered. Coffee poured. The smell of maple mingled with salt air and gasoline. It felt like the city itself had come outside to breathe. But not everything felt easy. Sophia saw a pair of older men near the curb. They shook their heads, arms crossed. Bikers, one muttered. Always trouble. A woman nearby whispered to her daughter, loud enough to cut. Stay close, honey. Sophia felt a sting. Judgment is sticky, hard to wash out. Michael noticed her face. He stepped close. Do you want to know a secret? He whispered. She nodded. He pointed discreetly. See the guy with the big beard and the eagle patch? That's Robert's older brother, Robert Jr. He runs a logistics company. Provides half the toys for the hospital's holiday drive. He gestured toward a woman who'd been leading volunteers. That's Emma, not your Emma. She's a nurse practitioner on the NICU floor. He angled his camera at a small figure in a stroller. That little boy, NICU graduate. 2 months early. That's why his dad rides. Sophia felt her chest loosen. People are not outfits. People are stories. Why the leather? She asked with a little grin. Michael shrugged. Road rash is worse. They grinned at each other. Then he looked down a little shy. May I interview you for our channel? Fork and Fuel. We tell food and road stories. Yesterday, I filmed everything. Sophia's eyebrows shot up. Everything. Most of it. He grimaced. Including when you got fired. I sent it to our editor last night. It's already live. Her cheeks flushed. Oh. Emma squeaked and pulled out her phone. It's trending, she said in a tiny scream. Look at these comments. Sophia read a few. Strangers calling her brave. Others sharing diner stories. A father thanking the bikers. A restaurant owner promising a free meal to anyone in an Iron Wind vest. The tide had turned. A soft tug at Sophia's apron. No apron now, but her jacket edge. A small girl with a pink helmet looked up. Are you the nice lady? Sophia knelt to her height. I try to be. The girl held out a sticker. It was a tiny motorcycle with a heart on the gas tank. For you. Sophia pressed it to her palm like a jewel. Thank you. The street, the music, the laughter, it all swelled together. But then a shadow crossed. John stepped out of the diner again, shoulders tight. He carried a printed notice. He taped it to the window with stiff motions. Closed for the day. Evelyn frowned. We could have worked with them. Served side by side. Pride is an expensive hobby. Sophia looked at Robert. Can I talk to him? Robert studied her. You sure? I'm sure. She walked to the door. The street noise softened behind her. Inside, the diner smelled like bleach and yesterday's onions. John stood at the counter, hands gripping the edge. What do you want? He said, not looking up. To talk, she said softly. We have nothing to say. I think we do. Silent moment, she stepped closer. Why did you cancel their breakfast? His jaw worked. I had a brother, he said at last, voice rough. He rode. He crashed. I held his hand in the hospital till it got cold. Leather and engines mean noise and loss to me. That's why. Sophia's anger fell through her like sand. Grief is not an excuse. But it is a reason. I'm sorry, she said. He swallowed. I'm sorry too. For you. For last night. He nodded toward the street. They terrify me. They saved babies, she said. They brought coffee. Maybe meet one. He flinched. I can't. Sophia nodded. Okay. Another day. She turned to go, then stopped. Robert offered me an apprenticeship, she said, voice trembling with new joy. I said yes. John's head jerked up. Good for you. He looked like he meant it and hated it at the same time. She put a hand on the door. He called after her. Sophia. She paused. He swallowed. I shouldn't have fired you. She didn't smile. But she didn't harden either. Maybe you figure out how to say that to them, she said, tilting her head toward the street. When she stepped back outside, the sun finally burned through the clouds. The chrome winked. The guitars strummed something bright. Robert was waiting. How did it go? Sophia exhaled. He's grieving. She looked Robert in the eyes. And I said yes. Robert's grin was pure sunrise. Then let's make a day of it. One condition, Robert added. lifting a small set of keys and a folded deed. You'll need to run lunch today like it's yours. The keys were warm from his palm. They clinked against each other like tiny bells. Sophia blinked. What is this? Borrowed time, Robert said. And borrowed space. He pointed to the storefront 2 doors down, the old bookshop that had been empty for months. The windows were clean. Inside, folding tables and rental stoves gleamed like a stage waiting for its first show. Permits posted. Equipment's in. We call it pop-up. Michael laughed. Pop-ups save souls and stomachs. Sophia's heart drummed. You set this up overnight. Community moves fast when it wants to, Robert said. One condition, like I said, you're in charge. Menu team, flow. Her stomach flipped. I've never run a line. Not alone. Evelyn stepped forward, tying her apron. You're not alone. Emma held up a notebook already filled with lists. I've got front of house. Menus, volunteers, seating, playlist. Rob's John rolled up with crates. Buns, greens, tomatoes, onions, pickles. The good kind. The guitarist strummed a ready-set-go chord. The air smelled like lemon cleaner and potential. Sophia took a breath. Silent moment. Okay, let's build a menu that hugs people from the inside. She chalked it up on a board. Harbor breakfast sandwich, scrambled eggs, cheddar, chili jam. Iron Wind burger, smash patty, mustard mayo, crispy onions. Evelyn's skillet, potatoes, peppers, mushrooms, rosemary. Sophia's lemon pancakes, blueberry compote. NICU's sweet, sugar-free oat cookies for tiny heroes' parents. She looked to Robert. All proceeds go to the NICU. Deal, he said. They moved like a dance. Emma trained volunteers to take orders. Smile. Repeat the order back. Make eye contact. People want to be seen. Evelyn lit the burners. The first butter hit hot steel and sang. Michael set his camera on a tripod. Time lapse, he murmured. Let the world watch this bloom. Sophia cracked eggs with a rhythm, soft as tapping a door. She salted from high. She flipped pancakes when the bubbles held their shape like constellations. The smash of beef on the flat top hissed. She watched the edges crisp, then scraped and flipped. The scent, beef and butter, pepper and hope, rolled to the street. Folks came in slow, then in a wave. Welcome, Emma sang. 2 for pancakes? You'll love the lemon. A kid at the front counter pointed at the chalkboard. Eyes huge. NICU cookies. His mother's hand trembled as she tapped the cup to donate. My twins spent 8 weeks there, she said softly. Thank you. Sophia smiled, breath-catching. We're honored. Robert floated through like a lighthouse, steadying and bright. He hauled boxes, filled waters, carried plates to elders. Michael interviewed between turns at the dish pit. Tell me why you ride, he asked a biker with careful tattoos. The man shrugged. I ride for my sister. She was 90 pounds and brave as the moon. Tears. A laugh. The camera saw it all. John hovered at the edge of the crowd, hands in pockets, watching. Conflict carved into his face. He stepped back, then forward, then back again. Inside the pop-up, Sophia found a rhythm. Evelyn, 2 skillets behind. On it. Emma, we need more plates. Rob's John is washing already. Michael, can you run that table to the nurse in blue? On my way. The pop-up hummed. Bodies. Voices. Steam. It felt like living inside a song. Silent moment. And, under it all, something else. A rising sense that this wasn't just food. It was a statement. A choice. At noon, the NICU nurse Emma took the mic between songs. She told a small story. One night, I watched a dad fall asleep with his hand on the incubator. He hadn't eaten all day. He didn't want to move. Food is not just calories. It's company. The room breathed in, then out. A boy in a wheelchair reached the counter. Sophia leaned low. What's your favorite thing to taste? He pointed to the burger. Crunchy onions. She added extra. On the house. Why? He asked. Because you told me what you love, she said. He grinned. That's a good reason. The line stretched to the sidewalk. Donations piled in a clear box like bright confetti. A local reporter slipped through, microphone tucked to her chin. Live at noon, Michael whispered, eyes gleaming. Let's make sure the sound of this hits more ears. Then, because life always adds a test, one of the burners sputtered and died. The line wobbled. Panic nipped at Sophia's heels. She closed her eyes, heard Evelyn's voice like a lighthouse horn. Focus the heat where it counts. Sophia shifted dishes, tightened the menu to 3 mains, pre-buttered buns, moved pancakes to a griddle in the back. She grabbed the spatula like a baton. We're good, she said. And they were. By 2, they had served hundreds. The donation box overflowed. The NICU coordinator counted with joy and disbelief. We just crossed last year's total, she cried. People clapped. Someone yelled, speech. Sophia wiped her hands. She stood at the crate again. Thank you, she said simply, for letting a fired waitress cook you lunch. Laughter. Cheers. Cameras. She lifted the keys. I thought these were borrowed. I thought today was pretend. Her voice shook. But this felt real. Robert stepped forward, eyes bright. He held the folded deed. Then it's time for the second surprise, he said, voice catching. Robert unfolded the deed, and Sophia's name was printed on the line that mattered. But there was one signature missing, and the missing signer was the last person she expected. Sophia stared at the deed. Her name, printed there like it had always belonged on paper. Her throat closed. What is this? Robert took a breath. The old bookshop. We bought it last year to keep it from becoming a payday loan store. I've been looking for the right person to steward it. Someone who feeds people like they matter. He tapped the deed. That's you. Emma squealed. Evelyn swatted tears away with the back of her wrist. Michael lowered the camera an inch because his hands weren't steady either. There's a catch, Robert added softly. Sophia swallowed. The signature? He nodded. We wanted Harbor Diner to partner, to share staff, wholesale, community nights. This pop-up could be a sister kitchen. I asked their owner to sign. He agreed this morning. But your manager, he needs to sign the cooperation memo, too. It doesn't change ownership. It changes attitude. Robert glanced toward the door. John stood there, half in, half out, sunlight cutting across his face. He looked like a man deciding whether to step onto a bridge. Silence spread. A good silence. The kind that makes room. Silent moment. Sophia stepped down from the crate. Walked toward him. She stopped an arm's length away. John, she said, voice gentle. We're asking you to sign something that says we'll work together. That will see people before jackets. His eyes were wet. He looked at the bikers. At the NICU banner. At the box of donations. He looked at Michael, whose camera blinked without judgment. He looked back at Sophia. I'm not good at this, he said. Neither am I, she said. I'm learning. He let out a broken laugh. You're better than you think. Evelyn came to stand beside Sophia. We can keep fighting, she said, or we can start feeding. John rubbed his face. I lost my brother, he said again, voice thinner now. The sound, it rips me open. Robert stepped closer, careful as approaching a skittish horse. He took off his gloves, held out his hands, palms up. No rings. No threat. I lost my son, he said quietly. The crowd stilled. He lived 4 hours in the NICU. 4 hours changed my life. I ride so the next dad gets 4 years. Or 40. John's shoulders slumped. A sound came out of him, small and human. He looked at the deed. He looked at the memo. He looked at Sophia. Okay, he said. He took the pen. His hand shook. He signed his name. The crowd didn't explode. It sighed, a long exhale no one had known they were holding. The kind that says, we can be better than yesterday. Sophia turned to the room. Thank you, she said, voice thin with relief. She lifted the keys. They flashed in the light. Welcome to Harbor Common. A kitchen for neighbors. Evelyn hooped. Emma hugged everyone. Michael lifted his camera again, but he didn't film for a second. He just looked at Sophia, and his smile said, you did this. The afternoon flowed into something soft and golden. Kids colored menus. Writers stacked chairs. John, awkward as a man learning to dance, carried out a tray of lemonade. He looked at Robert. "For your rider with the eagle patch," he said, voice wobbly. "On the house." Robert nodded once, a solemn thank you. Sophia stood at the threshold of the pop-up and let the moment sink in. The air held cinnamon and motor oil and ocean. People laughed in little bursts that sounded like forgiveness. The city hummed like a happy beehive. Michael approached, blinking against sunlight. "One more thing," he said, embarrassed. "Fork and Fuel is donating ad revenue from your video to the NICU Fund. Also, we'd like you on the channel. Monthly segment. Apron Courage. Stories of Hospitality." Sophia laughed. "I have a lot to learn." "That's why people will trust you," he said. Emma waved her phone. "Comments are wild. I judged before I knew. My dad rides, he's a teddy bear. I'm a server. Thank you for standing up. I lost my job for something like this. You gave me hope." Sophia felt something unclench inside her. She thought of the moment in the office last night, the knot in her apron, the humiliation. It hadn't disappeared. It had transformed. The NICU coordinator tapped her shoulder. "Final tally," she said, eyes wet. She whispered a number. It was more than last year, by a mile. The room wobbled in Sophia's vision. She nodded, unable to speak. Evelyn touched her elbow. "Breathe." Sophia did. She let the breath out slowly. Silent moment. As the sun sank, people drifted away in twos and threes. Robert stayed until the last folding chair clicked shut. He shook Sophia's hand like she was a peer, a partner. "You run this place with your heart," he said. "The rest follows." John approached. He looked smaller without his anger. He cleared his throat. "Sophia, I'm sorry for last night." The words came like stones he'd been carrying too long. "Thank you," she said. "I'd like to volunteer here on Wednesdays," he added, surprising himself. "Dish pit. No cameras." Sophia smiled. "We always need hands." He nodded and walked away, shoulders lighter. Michael lingered, helmet under one arm. "See you soon, chef?" "Not a chef," she said. "Yet," he said. Engines rumbled to life, one by one, like a chorus waking up. Taillights winked their red goodbyes. The street fell quiet. The neon hummed again, but it sounded friendlier. Sophia stood with Emma and Evelyn in the doorway of their new place. Harbor Common. The name looked right. The night smelled like lemon and possibility. Emma nudged her. "Can I say it?" "What?" "I told you something good was coming." Sophia laughed. "You did." They stood together and watched the last bike vanish into the dark, a comet with a human at the center. Sophia rolled the new keys in her hand. They felt like a future. They felt like a promise she had made to the world, and the world had dared to make back. She turned the lock for the first time. It clicked like a heartbeat, steady and sure. And in that small quiet, she asked herself, and maybe you too, one more question. If you had power over one small corner of the world, would you choose to run it with fear or with welcome? Your turn. Have you ever misjudged someone at first glance, or been misjudged yourself? What happened next, and what changed your mind?